interesting article. It's relevant. It's in the news. It's very current. We're at the body cameras, and I know that was kind of one of the things we want to talk about. But the thing I guess that was interesting to me was one of only 3 agencies in all of Illinois that was done. That was awarded the grant. And 285 police departments, like you said, doesn't sound like a lot, but this was such an extensive grant, and it was because it was a pilot program. It was very hard work. Maybe we'll have Christy on in a week or two, who I know did the grant process.
Well, actually, I did it, and she just put a cover letter on the top.
Oh, nice. Well, since she doesn't want to come on air and say otherwise, right, then that's what you go with.
I had her email my work out. It got approved, but yeah, she did some of the work. But
awesome.
Yeah, 285 people, or 285 agencies around the country put in for this. Whatever the number was it 75?
73 total across the United States.
But there were hundreds, if not thousands, that looked at it and said, "Okay, we're not going to do this." It was Christy, who has done other grant work in the past, but also through schooling has written a lot of papers and research and things, and she says this is probably from her thesis, and I want to speak for her, but she doesn't want to come on the show very often. So it was probably the most in-depth process that's ever had to be a part of, and so it took a ton, because it's a pilot program, so they want to know how comfortable is this agency with technology, what technology are they already using. If you get it, how are we going to report back? Because they want to work with the agencies to see what's working, what's not, what the policies look like. So I know our next step is we have to send them off our policy. We then have to send off a budget of how we're going to use the money. And we're still looking at that because already we've only started using these body cameras. We just start in a test phase, kind of following ourselves. We don't have a full-fledged policy yet because we only have a few people. So we have a practice our legal department drew up of how we're going to be using the cameras till January 1st when the law kicks in. But as you're looking at this, it's going to, explode. We already do explode with Freedom of Information Acts. People want to see the video of everything. And so, is it going to cost, another person to be hired in our records department, which we're assuming that there's a high possibility that's going to occur.
Right now you've got Russ.
We've got Russ and, there was
others. I thought it was
yeah. He's big, but he's not big enough to handle all of this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we got a great team down in our records department. I think it's probably 6 full-timers down there. But
and you might need another yet, huh?
But just for video, because this video is, if you call and you want the video and you want body camera video of an incident you were on, and you want it from 12 o'clock to 12:04, so that's only 4 minutes. But in that 4 minutes, there are other people that are in that, and then we're going to need some technology to blur out the face of other people who were there who don't want it. Because when you get a police report, you only get certain portions of it. You don't get everybody's name and date of birth.
It's redacted.
It's redacted. So we need to redact video now, too. And so that's a whole other issue. And so that's what we're working through. So we told the city council as well as we're talking about this.
In that video, they can't be shown, right?
Is it inside someone's house, and what else is in there? So there's a lot of right to privacy. So this is just, we're on the cutting edge of this, which is kind of cool. But it's also, hey, we don't know all the answers, right? And we don't know what this is going to look like when it's done. So we've been very clear with the council. And as we're going through this, that the grant is great, and we're going to be able to get a lot of equipment, but there is a potential that it's going to cost another person or two. We're not sure what it's going to look like as far as how are we going to respond to all these videos, keeping these videos, the cost in the back end, because it's great to have video. Cameras are between $500, $750 a piece, but the storage end of that, and the storage we have to keep. I think the state law is going to say for 90 days, unless it's flagged. So if there's a complaint about an officer or something else going on that we want to flag this for court purposes, then we have to keep it indefinitely.
For years.
And you can imagine, hundreds of officers out there doing, multiple traffic stops, video after video, and think how quickly video fills up. So the amount of storage we need. We're looking a little bit at
finding a good cloud service.
Do you know anybody?
I might know some people.
Might know some people. We've been in the talk looking at cloud. Cloud has its advantages, and obviously that's the way of the future for a lot of things. Yeah. Cloud also, once you're kind of locked in with cloud, then as far as transitioning. So we're still looking at that because we're wide open, whether it's going to be cloud, whether we're going to have our own servers. There's a lot of that's another one of the big answers or questions that are out there. So that's the kind of the cool thing about being on the front end of this. A lot of people, I know we get calls, weekly from camera vendors to other agencies looking at, can we have a copy of your policy? Here's what's going on. I know
I saw recently where they were saying that they didn't want police to be able to review the camera in writing up the reports because the defendants don't get the opportunity to review the camera before making their statement.
Yeah, there's been talk about that.
Yeah, there were some other interesting things that, again, I
Right.
never would have thought of.
Yeah, we'll see if if there's any changes to the law as it stands now. Officers will be able to review
Right.
that. When you're in there, and like I said, if something happens right here and you're trying to write a police report and there's multiple things going on, you might only capture portions of it. You don't have all of the facts. So there's just a lot to be learned. How it's going to work in court, playing these videos in court. I mean, some agencies have already been using them, so this isn't like it's brand new or anything. But it's a big deal, and we're working through it. And Commander Lally's been working with an entire team of people, and have been doing a fantastic job. And I think we're gonna, by the end of this, we're probably gonna test maybe close to 10 different cameras. I think we're probably like 6 or 7 right now. I think we got a few more coming. And then once we're done here, our goal is really probably by summertime have some cameras.
You're gonna do all this before January 1 with all those more cameras? No.
No, but the ones that we have will be under state law. The ones that we have out there now. At one point, we were looking at trying to have this done much quicker because we thought it was gonna have to be a part of the budget process. Yeah. But then once we got awarded the grant, and we're also using for the city's portion, we're using our drug asset forfeiture money. So then we're no longer tied to the calendar and ensuring that we have things ready for budget. Because as we talked, the city manager went through what the budget process is looking like for next year. So we're not tied by that and have to kind of. So now we're really just taking our time. We're doing all the research we can. I said, the old adage, measure twice, cut once. I said we're going to measure like 10 times with this because this is such an expensive endeavor.
Like a half a cut.
Exactly, and then slowly cut, like your scissors, barely get it going. And so, because you need to get it right, because once, like we were talking about with cloud or self-store, once you make that decision, you're kind of pot committed, and you need to then stick with that because changing. We're going to go from servers.
We're
going to go from servers to cloud. It's like no, it's not, I mean, maybe it's easy, but it's also very expensive, and so it's we're doing a ton of research, and so it's interesting. I know we're learning a lot as we go through it, but it's fun. I like these kind of things, so it's great.
Yeah, technology is interesting.
Technology keeps changing.
Well, let's have you have to change with it.
That's deep.
Let's have
write that down.
Let's have another week. Say that again.
Technology's changing a lot.
You
heard it here first, Elgin.
Elgin's Chief of Police, Jeff Swoboda. Thank you so much for joining us every Friday, and I always look forward to this segment.